here and move the camera. Move the camera over here, move it over here, move it over here. See how I'm moving it? With my phone. See that? Isn't that cool, y'all? Isn't that dope? Look at that. That's so dope. I like this shit, man. This is so fly. I like this. The Mevo is so cool. I like it. Isn't that cool? So I can just move it. And then when I'm done, I can just start, I can just, get it to, I can just put it back on automatic. See, I went right back to automatic now. See, it's back on automatic mode. Anyway, this thing is so cool. I'm still getting used to it, but I love this thing, man. The Mevo is so cool, man. I got it from Amazon. It's a link at the bottom you can click. That I'm going to put after this video ends. The link, you can go to Amazon and get it. Amazon has it on sale. I believe it's like 22% off or 15% off, something like that. But this thing is so cool, man. It can record up to about 4 to 5 hours. Yeah, about 4 or 5 hours worth of streaming. You can record to a little chip. So if you don't want to stream, you can put a chip in the back of it and it can record to a chip. It's just a cool product. I like it. But yeah, if you guys are interested in buying one, click the link at the bottom, go straight to Amazon. I got it from Amazon Prime. I ordered it, and of course I'm an Amazon Prime member, so it came the next day. Like, it came really fast. It's supposed to be coming in like 2 days. It came like, they said, well, it's supposed to be, because I ordered it at midnight, so it wouldn't have came, that's considered that day. I got it later on that evening. I ordered it at 12 midnight, and then I got it like at 5 o'clock. I hear a knock on my door. It's the dang on Amazon guy. So I'm like, whoa, it came fast. I thought it was supposed to come the following day, but shout out to Amazon Prime. So it came fast, and my Mevo came fast. So I like it, man. What y'all think about this? This is pretty cool. I can move my arm. See how it widens out? Because when it gets, then it zooms back in my face. I'm not touching nothing. It's all automatic. It's like having your own ghost cameraman. But this is pretty cool. I like it. So if you're interested in getting one, go ahead and click the link at the bottom. Go straight out. We'll talk about Paul Mooney. He passed away yesterday, Wednesday morning. We found out that Paul Mooney had passed on. He was 79 years old. He was the same age as my mom. My mom was about 79, 80 when she passed. She had a heart attack as well. She had gotten sick. But Paul Mooney passed away, 79 years old. And I just want to do a video because I never talked about this man before. But I guess because I'm all stuttering, I'm all at loss. I'm trying to put the words together. I saw him on Chappelle's show. Because he's, Paul is not from my era. I'm a 90s kid, but, I was a teenager in the 90s. So when I was coming up, Eddie Murphy and who else? Chris Tucker, Martin. Those were like our comedies, 90s comedians. Chris Tucker, Martin, Eddie, since I was a little baby. I was a kid in the 80s. Who else? It's a handful of, I'm talking about comedy from my era, Of course, Kevin Hart later on, but me and Kevin were around the same age, so. But Paul Mooney, I learned about him, I believe, through Dave Chappelle, from the Chappelle show, when he would do the Ask the Negro, Ask the Negrodamus, Ask the Negro, Ask Paul Mooney. It was Ask Paul Mooney and Negrodamus. That was the two skits, the two things they would do on Chappelle's show. So I'm like, who's this Paul Mooney guy? Who's this Paul Mooney guy? And I believe I was at work. I was working at the news station at the time, around the time the Chappelle show was on. So I decided to look him up on the internet, and this is the guy who wrote for Sanford and Son. His writing is very controversial. His comedy, he's a comedian. He helped wrote a lot of stuff for Richard Pryor, acts. This is the guy behind Richard and Eddie and all. I'm like, who is this Paul Mooney dude? So I started doing my research, and I came upon one of his. He had a stand-up comedy skit. I forgot the name of the comedy skit. But it was like early. It might have been like mid 2000s. But that's when I was working at the news station. Maybe 2004 White America, Black America, something like that. I forgot the name of that damn. Oh, Cleopatra. Something was black and so was Cleopatra, something like that. But he had like 2 or 3 comedy specials, and I remember renting. This is back when Netflix had just the disc. This was back when you would sign up. It was like maybe $14 a month, and you would get 3. You can get as many movies. You can order as many movies. They would send you the DVDs in the mail, and you have to go on the website. This is before streaming, way before streaming. Netflix was a mail DVD service for all y'all young people out there. It was a mail DVD service. You can get like up to 3 DVDs, and you can pick them on their site. And they had like a huge library, and you can pick as many movies as you want. They'll just keep sending them to you, and then you'll keep one, they'll send you one, you send it back, and they had like free postage and shit. It was really cool. Netflix killed the game. That's how they ended up killing Blockbuster. But anyway, I ended up renting. So they had Paul Mooney stand-up comedy on the site on the Netflix account, and I ordered it, and it came through the DVD, and I put it in, and I was like, whoa, this dude don't give a damn. This dude don't give a damn. Like, he was just and doing that comedy special, a couple of white people got up and walked out. I can't remember some of the jokes that he said on that comedy special, but he would say some jokes, and he would go in on white people on what they did to black folks back in the day, and it would be uncomfortable. Paul would make a lot of people. He made a lot of black people uncomfortable. As he would say, and you house niggas, if you're scared of you house niggas, go scared, walk out with the white people if you're scared too. You know what I'm saying? He would just go in, and I was like, wow. So he would say things, and then I started to research him. He had an old comedy skit, a stand-up comedy special called Race. And I believe it was just audio. I don't think there's no video of it, but it's called Race. It came out in 1994. This is before I knew who Paul Mooney was. But I went back and started getting his library. I think I actually bought Race on a CD. This is back, of course, this is a long time ago. 2000. This is mid 2000s, so they didn't have streaming and nothing like that. So you had to go buy it actually CD. So I actually went and found the CD from 1994 at this old record store, and it was called. And I was like, it blew my mind, like stuff he was saying, and how wise he was. He was a very wise comedian. I like wise because my mom was very wise, and she liked people like Richard Pryor was wise. Paul. That's why I think Paul Mooney and Richard was so close and became best friends, because they were 2 wise people. It's one thing about being a comedian, but you could tell they had they were raised right. They were raised with sense, common sense, and the way they look at things was from a very wise perspective. And Paul Mooney was, I started getting all his old stuff. I got Race, I got Cleopatra. I forgot the name of it. Queen. I forgot the name of that one. It's gonna kill me now. Damn. Anyway, Cleopatra. Something about so is Cleopatra. I forgot the name of that damn. That's a damn shame. Slips my mind. But it was really good. He had a bunch of good comedy specials, but just the stuff that he would say. This is how he changed my life. The stuff that he would say, I would feel the way some of his jokes were tongue in cheek, but then he would get serious. Then he would go back to being funny. Then he would get serious. Then he would go back to being funny. Then my damn light went out. My light back on. Shit. Okay, hold on a second. Damn, buying this shit from Wish in China. This shit don't last long. But he would do comedy where he would get serious, and then he would go back to comedy. Then he would get serious. He would bounce back and forth, or he'll blend the seriousness with. Then sometimes he would blend the seriousness with the funny, And he changed my life because I would feel this way as a black man in America. I would have these feelings, but I felt like I think seeing TV and how society is, and don't feel that way. Like, you're kind of taught as a black man in America to I feel like this is because I'm black. I feel like this is some racist shit that's happening to me. No, it can't be. I don't want to be the angry black man that points out racism every time something happens to him. But I'm like, no, this feels like racism. I feel like I'm being treated unfairly. Like, no, I don't want to be the angry black man. I don't want to raise any eyebrows about being a difficult black man, you know. But then Paul Mooney came along, I would say through Dave Chappelle, and people like Dave Chappelle and Paul Mooney made me feel like, okay, no, I'm not crazy. I should feel this way. This is fucked up, and America is still racist. And me being a black man, I am still a threat to these people. Thank you, Paul Mooney. Now I don't feel crazy. I don't feel like I'm losing my mind for thinking this way or being an angry black man or feeling ashamed for feeling that way. This is how you're feeling too. And you're an older black man, and you're like, nope, it's still going on. Racism is still. What did Paul say? He said racism is in the fabric, baby. It's in America's DNA. It's not going anywhere. Racism is in the fabric. It's in the DNA. It's not going anywhere. He would always say stuff like that, and I'm like, man, like, yeah, like I should feel this way. Like I'm not going to carry it around like a chip on my shoulder, but now I feel like, like it felt like I was confused. I felt weird for thinking the way I was thinking, but then Paul and people like Dave Chappelle and Paul Mooney and even Richard Pryor made me, Paul Mooney especially, because Paul would go in a lot on race. I think that's why Dave Chappelle looked up to him a lot, because Dave Chappelle would talk about race and these thoughts and these feelings that I would feel. And I think he gravitated towards Paul because Paul was speaking the way Dave was feeling when he was young. Like he probably got race when he was a kid, when he was a teenager in '94. And Dave Chappelle was like, thank you, Paul. Like I feel that way as a black man in America. Like, thank you for not letting me feel like I'm crazy and feel like something's wrong with me for thinking this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, America is still racist, and this is, he would, and in his comedy, he would do different scenarios where he'd be like, a motherfucker did me just like that too. A white motherfucker. Damn. So so racism is still going on. Just because MLK got assassinated, it's not over with. It's still going on, but they're trying to hide it more. Because they want to have America to be this PR campaign of, oh no, we'll bring us to retire, you're hungry, any race. We're not racist anymore. Even though we assassinated MLK and all your black leaders, no, we're not racist. So I've always felt like thinking that way made me feel like, oh, maybe I'm being the angry, the difficult black man for thinking that way. And then Paul just made me feel like, no, dude, shit is still going on. Yes, it's some racist shit. No, you're not crazy for feeling the way you're feeling. And he would talk about it. And he would say, and he would make you feel like you should talk about it. You should express, call the motherfuckers out if they're doing some racist shit. If they've done racist shit, don't let them just have you think it's wrong for just slide it up under the rug when most of this nation's wealth is built off the backs of us. Call them out. Let them know, and that's what Paul did. Now, of course, Paul Mooney being the way that he was, he didn't progress to the higher level of Richard Pryor because he was too in white people's face. And Hollywood is ran by white folks, and they don't like that when you turn the mirror on them when they do racist shit. They'll do the racist shit, but you're not supposed to call them on it. You're supposed to just go along, let them do racist shit, and act like they didn't do it. And Paul would call their ass out on it, and that's why I think, and matter of fact, a lot of comedians would say that's why he didn't advance to a Richard, like Richard Pryor, his friend Richard and Eddie and all them, because Richard was touch on it a little bit, but then he would kind of stay away from it. Paul would go all in with it. Fuck it, this is what it is. This is what you motherfuckers do. Da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying? And I think that made it hard for him to kind of get to the higher level that he wanted to get to in comedy. Because they're not gonna give you a platform. They're not gonna give you their platform to make them look crazy when they want to look like heroes. That's why Superman is white, Batman is white. They want to look like heroes, the saviors of the day. They don't want anybody turn the mirror on saying, no, my nigga, you're not the savior of the day. Matter of fact, you are an evil motherfucker and you have done some devilish shit. That's what Paul would say, so they don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So the black man actually is the hero. The black woman is the hero. He would say stuff like that, So they're not going to put that on, they're not going to put that on film. But, yeah. Just wanted to just give my opinions on Paul Mooney. He passed yesterday. That was a shocker. Even though, he was older, but I was hoping that Paul would come back and give us one more stand up short before he passed. But of course, people said he got dementia, real bad. Like he was diagnosed for like people hadn't seen him in years. I think the last time people seen Paul was like 4 or 5 years ago, out in public at his birthday party. They had, matter of fact, a friend of mine did the photography at his birthday party maybe about 4 or 5 years ago when he was still in his right head. And that was about that was about 5 years ago. And since then, it went. He did a couple of shows, then he started going downhill. There was rumors that he had dementia, he had Alzheimer's, and then some of the Mooney, his sons, came forward and said, yeah, that was true. Like they he's suffering from he's getting dementia. He doesn't remember a lot of people, and he's been out of the public eye. And from what I was hearing, his kids and his cousins were taking care of him. Like I guess they moved into his house and they had to take care of him. I don't know. I think he had a house out here in L.A. And he also, I'm pretty sure Paul has houses. I know he had a place in New York and L.A. And apparently where he passed away was in his hometown of Oakland, which is where he's from, the Bay Area. And from what comedian Pierre, who was sort of like he looked up, he looked up to Paul, and he went on tour with Paul one of his last couple of dates before he started to get dementia. Pierre would open for him, and Pierre talked about him passing away today, and he said that Pierre had got real close with him, and he knew people in his family, so he said he got the phone call from Paul's cousin, one of the cousins that were taking care of him from the house in Oakland, and said, yeah, I went to go get him. He said Paul said he was hungry, he wanted a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and said he went downstairs to get it, making the peanut butter jelly sandwich, and he came back up and Paul was gone. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But anyway, I guess that's Paul telling me to wrap this shit up and not stop talking about him, because my light went out again. Anyway, just wanted to share my opinions on Paul Mooney, man. May he rest in peace, and he was a big influence on me. And there'll never be nobody that real again. I mean, Dave, of course, is a student of Paul. You can see, Dave. That's why Dave gave him that. Dave really wanted him to be on his show, and so he was a big fan. A lot of Kevin Hart. A lot of people are big fans of Paul Mooney, and may he rest in peace. Anyway, y'all, thank y'all for watching this video. I'm losing my voice, as you can hear. I'm starting to get that Paul Mooney voice. I'm starting to lose my voice and talk like Paul Mooney. Anyway, go ahead and give me that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel, Charles Arnes World, and I'll talk to y'all later. Hello, how you doing? How you doing, baby? Would you care to dance with me? Oh, you want to dance with me? Let's dance then. How about we do that? Let's dance. So beautiful tonight. It's so safe. You know that? Come here. Let's dance. Beautiful dance. You're a beautiful woman. I love the way you're looking. You and your chiffon. You dance so lovely. The way you just look into my eyes as we dance. Beautiful hair. I'm gonna dip you a little bit. I'm gonna dance with you. Let me kiss. I'm a dingbat. I'm a freaking dingbat. I'm bored. I have nothing better else to do. Stop dicking around. Anyway. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, guys. Welcome to the Charles Arnes Show. Turn this light on. I got a lot of stuff I gotta do. So, thank you guys for rocking out with your boy. Thank you for watching my channel, giving me support. I got stuff I gotta do, man. Open this window real quick. Hot in here. So, let's do this. We're gonna get me some weed. Get me some weed. I watched the sun just now. Ugh. Man, have y'all been watching this Prince shit? When Prince lost his... Yeah. This. What comes on tonight? I think what comes on tonight. I think. Who's Des Dickerson? Who the fuck is that? Des Dickerson.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were in the time. They got fired.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
2 times in Atlanta and it never snowed. They got fired in and they had a daily literature show. And the show had to go on. And so Prince was so vivid, he was forgetting to put bass behind the curtain, right? One of the best things that happened to them was they went on to write down productions with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and all the wonderful hits that they've written over the years. And, you know, they were my friends. They are my friends. After I got fired from Prince, I was determined to get a deal. Now, I was in O'Neill. He was going to get a record. My friends were in a position, they said, they came home and I was doing a local club downtown Minneapolis. Jimmy and Terry said, look, man, we just started our producing thing that just did the SOS band. When we get our feet planted firmly on the ground in the industry, then we're going to come back and we're going to get you a record.
This isn't like in Marvel. This is just me, once again, outside looking in, because I didn't grow up with those guys in Minneapolis. Me and Prince got to be really close, get to be best friends. I knew that there was a lot of animosity between Prince and Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam. And it had to do with childhood stuff, when people bullied people and other folks to know that dude was going to grow up to be that Prince, and all that kind of thing.
Remorse was definitely not into remorse, like disappeared after those guys got fired. We couldn't find him for a long time, but he didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Morris was pretty subdued, but he was pretty upset too, so he wasn't participating in that part of it. He was just doing what he had to do.
It's funny because as I was driving here, just on Fountain, at Cherokee and Fountain is Sunset Sound, where it all began. He would come and pick me up the street, and we'd come down here and record. It was back and forth, back and forth. And we got the purple motorcycle, and it was like back and forth to the studio, which is just down the street from here. So we'd go pick him up at the airport in Lisa's car, and we'd bring him to our house. And it was just Wendy, Lisa, myself, and Prince. And we'd be in our little 2-bedroom house with 2 cats that would jump on him in the middle of the night on the couch and, Wendy, Lisa, can you get the cat? But we started coming out a lot.
I never had met him or anything. I just called him up. He was in LA, and I said, well, I'm here, and what are you doing? And he said, well, I'll try to come over, and we didn't even think he would.
Yeah, he lives in Minneapolis, so he's not going to be here. We got a number. I call. He answers. Hello, Prince. This is Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks, this is Prince. Are you here in town? And he said, yes, I am. I have written a song to one of your songs, Little Red Romance. And I said, I'm in Sunset Sound. So he said, okay. And he walks in, and he is like dressed to the nines. He's totally cool. And he says, I love it. And so he plays on it. And he also plays the part. And I'm like, just like going like this.
But, and he did, and he came. I said, well, I like it if you can. Yes, man. And he showed up not long later and just put this incredible, kind of amazing, awesome part on it. We just went, it was amazing.
I know I have to start the movie or Prince is going to go crazy. And you know, when his creative juices were going, he had to start. So And I'm going to cut right to the chase. I go to Albert, or it's Deli, I think.
Okay, so
Knowing Prince, if he starts driving it, you have to do pretty much. Prince just wanted to start. They're going to make a major motion picture. You got to get a major studio, and he wants a name above the title. And you can't get some drug dealer to finance it.
Well, I heard that because some of the guys in the band were talking about it. Joe Jones was talking about it. I remember Vanity and Susan Moonsey telling me, he's writing in this notebook these ideas he thinks he's going to make a movie. And everybody kind of like, the sense I got was that nobody really believed it, but everybody was too afraid of him to express it. So everybody acted like, yeah, we're going to make a movie. But, but like, they didn't believe it.
After all, there was unknown everybody. And my last try is for Jamie Foley. We screened this movie, Reckless. I'm all by myself in the screening room. The movie ends, and this kid comes down the aisle and says, "What did you think?" I said, "Oh, it was okay. I liked the editing." And he says, "Oh, I did that. That was Albert." And I tell him my story. So I offer him the movie and $75,000, and he passed. I said, "You haven't got a pot to piss in, excuse my French. How could you pass?"
I passed, but it wasn't at the restaurant. I had passed the day before. It's because I read it and I didn't think it was large enough.
all right, let's see, man.
When it passed, he immediately got very angry. There's a lot of bad language. He said everybody in town is passing, and now you're on a D list. You don't exist. You're just an editor. I said, I went to film school. I know nothing, but you're in the music business, and you know less than I do.
No, it was more like Prince because, back then we hung out every day. And so, we cut music and if we weren't cutting music, we'd go out, party a little bit, then we'd come back and hear some music inspired. We'd come back at night and cut. And he was just like, we're going to do a movie. He's like, I'm writing this movie. And I said, okay. And then
We had come off the road after the tour supporting the 1999 album. The last couple of tours, I had been in the break between, tour, the band is off, Prince goes in the studio. But during that break, I had put my own band together. I was prepping for my exit. I was doing showcases and recording demos and working toward a solo deal. So I was in LA in label meetings, and I get a call from Prince. Yes, I need you to come home right away. So went back to Minneapolis, went out to the house, spent a day. Anyway, what was on his mind was, we're about to film, do this record, and, we're going to tour for 2 years once the record is out. Between doing the film, doing the record, and the road, I need you to either commit for 3 more years or split and go do your solo thing. It really wasn't so much a question. I wasn't doing anyone good as a bandmate. I said, yeah, I'll opt out.
I used to practice playing guitar for 4 or 5, sometimes 6 hours a day when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. Getting all my hopes on this thing when you're, 15 years old and looking for something to hang your hat on. It seemed so weird. And I thought that that's the key. That's the key to being happy in life. It's like, well, I'm a guitar player. It was like, now I'm somebody. I'm getting somebody, I have a tangible proof that all these years
let's get this shit going.
Worthwhile and that I am worthwhile. The act was increasingly centered around sexual things and blatant sexual things, and oftentimes things that were just patently designed to shock people and nothing more.
I probably take the precedent. I don't let other people define what it is that makes me who I am. You don't think of us, we just try to be an instrument. And so I don't really respond to what society says. So, we don't use words like wholesome or, bad or good. But, you know what I mean?
On the one hand, it's fun, but there's the reality of these kids and what we're saying and what we're doing. All of a sudden, it's like we were rock stars. What I always wanted to be, I was, But at the same time, there was this incredible turmoil because it was not making me happy. And the more it did make me happy, the more I was thinking, why isn't this making me happy?
During this time of intense questioning, Des found himself watching a television program off stage.
Sometimes on the road, myself and a couple of the other guys in the band, we would, on those long days off, we don't have anything to do, we just watch cable TV, and many times we'd watch the 700 Club.
And it was through the 700 Club, Des Dickerson, then lead guitarist for one of the hottest pop bands going, began to learn about a happiness he once thought could only be found in music.
When you're in that turmoil, peace is something you want, but you have no frame of reference. You have no idea what peace is, much less how you can get it. So it was kind of a bridge for me.
I like doing this. I like work on
and
YouTube
challenge
page.
my thinking.
This is what I want to do for a living. Straight YouTube shit,
Then, after months of searching, Des finally prayed to receive Jesus Christ as his Savior.
It was a very simple thing. I just remember, verbally, just asking Jesus to come into my life, asking God to have His way. And I just said I was tired of being at odds.
While staying with the band another 2 years, Des eventually left to pursue his solo career.
I mean, I was thrilled to be going back to doing what I did in Whalebone, and being the guy in the middle of the stage, singing the songs and talking to the audience, and that was where I felt most comfortable. And we got to do it in some great venues at that point in time, kind of the brand value that had been built up as the guy in the Kamikaze Headband. We were able to kind of cash in on some of that. Toured with Billy Idol and Rebel Yell tour, which was probably the most enjoyable tour that out of all of them that I've ever done. I probably enjoyed that one the most.
It was really exciting. Wendy and Lisa and I lived so close to Sunset Sound that as he was recording the record, he was back and forth to our house. There were times where he'd be in the studio all night long, and he would call Wendy and Lisa and say, "Come in." In fact, just after Let's Go Crazy was recorded, I remember getting a cassette of it and taking it with me and driving home and listening to it and thinking, "Oh my God, it's so huge. It's huge." You never hear this kind of big sound, or at least I haven't heard this in a long time. I don't know what the reference would have been even at that moment in time. And then I remember a friend of mine had been at the house, and I said, "You have to hear this."
This documentary is really good. It's like the history of Prince, like from his band perspective.
What's going on in the studio there? What are they recording? He had just done Let's Go Crazy, and then they finished, because he would go in and cut, mix. Nothing would stop. He would just go in, record, and then it would be mixed. There was no stopping, like, okay, we're just going to record a bunch of these tracks later and mix. He wouldn't stop. It was until it was done. Each song had to be completed. Yeah. He would be just never stop, until he felt it was time to stop. He could go 3 days and crash a day and then start up again. And if that meant he was starting up at 8 o'clock at night to do another 24-hour run, that's when it would start. Because if he'd gone home that 8 o'clock that morning and slept till 4 in the afternoon, meet me at the studio at 7, then it would be 24 hours. Yes, constant. There were many walking out of the studio at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. You weren't there to see him ever sing. You were out. Everyone had to be out. He would record his own vocals. So nobody was in the studio when he would do that.
Whatever
you could hear it. Like when he was doing Beautiful Ones, and we were in the lounge, and you could hear him screaming, because he would do it behind the board. He'd always do his vocals sitting at the board. And so you would just...
Des finally prayed to receive Jesus Christ as his Savior.
It was a very simple thing. I just remember, verbally, just asking Jesus to come into my life, asking God to have His way. And I just said I was tired of being at odds.
While staying with the band another 2 years, Des eventually left to pursue his solo career.
I mean, I was thrilled to be going back to doing what I did in Whalebone and you know, being the guy in the middle of the stage, singing the songs and talking to the audience, and that was where I felt most comfortable. And we got to do it in some great venues at that point in time, kind of the brand value that had been built up as the guy in the Kamikaze Headband. We were able to kind of cash in on some of that. Toured with Billy Idol, the Rebel Yell tour, which was probably the most enjoyable tour that out of all of them that I've ever done. I probably enjoyed that one the most.
It was really exciting. Wendy and Lisa and I lived so
let's talk
close
about
to
porn.
Sunset Sound that as he was recording the record, he was back and forth to our house. There were times where he'd be in the studio all night long, and he would call Wendy and Lisa and say, "Come in." In fact, just after Let's Go Crazy was recorded, I remember getting a cassette of it and taking it with me and driving home and listening to it and thinking, "Oh my God, it's so huge. It's huge." Like, you never hear this kind of big sound, or at least I haven't heard this in a long time. I don't know what the reference would have been even at that moment in time. And then I remember a friend of mine had been at the house, and I said, "You have to hear this. You have to come in the car. You have to hear what they're doing. You have to hear this thing." And played him Let's Go Crazy, and he was blown away, like, what is going on in the studio there? What are they recording? He had just done Let's Go Crazy, and then because he would go in and cut, mix, nothing would stop. He would just go in, record, and then it would be mixed. There was no stopping, like, okay, we're just going to record a bunch of these.
I like his stories like
He
this.
received Jesus Christ as his Savior.
It was a very simple thing. I just remember, verbally, just asking Jesus to come into my life, asking God to have his way. And I said I was tired of being at odds.
While staying with the band another 2 years, Debs eventually left to pursue his solo career.
I mean, I was thrilled to be going back to doing what I did in Whalebone and you know, being the guy in the middle of the stage, singing the songs and talking to the audience, and that was where I felt most comfortable. And we got to do it in some great venues at that point in time, kind of the brand value that had been built up as the guy in the Kamikaze Headband. We were able to kind of cash in on some of that. Toured with Billy Idol, the Rebel Yell tour, which was probably the most enjoyable tour that out of all of them that I've ever done. I probably enjoyed that one the most.
It was really exciting. Wendy and Lisa and I lived so close to Sunset Sound that as he was recording the record, he was back and forth to our house. There were times where he'd be in the studio all night long, and he would call Wendy and Lisa and say, "Come in." In fact, just after Let's Go Crazy was recorded, I remember getting a cassette of it and taking it with me and driving home and listening to it and thinking, "Oh my God, it's so huge. It's huge." Like, you never hear this kind of big sound, or at least I haven't heard this in a long time. I don't know what the reference would have been even at that moment in time. And then I remember a friend of mine had been at the house, and I said, "You have to hear this. You have to come in the car. You have to hear what they're doing. You have to hear this thing." And played him Let's Go Crazy, and he was blown away, like, what is going on in the studio there? What are they recording? He had just done Let's Go Crazy, and then because he would go in and cut, mix, nothing would stop. He would just go in, record, and then it would be mixed. There was no stopping, like, okay, we're just going to record a bunch of these tracks and later and mix. He wouldn't stop. It was until it was done. Each song had to be completed. Yeah. He would be just never stop, until he felt it was time to stop. He could go 3 days and crash a day and then start up again. And if that meant he was starting up at 8 o'clock at night to do another 24-hour run, that's when it would start. Because if he'd gone home that 8 o'clock that morning and slept till 4 in the afternoon, meet me at the studio at 7, then it would be 24. Yes, constant. There were many there were many walking out of the studio at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. You weren't there to see him ever sing. You were out. Everyone had to be out. He would record his own vocals. So nobody was in the studio when he would do that.
Whatever
you could hear it. Like when he was doing the beautiful ones, and we were in the lounge, and you could hear him screaming, because he would do it behind the board. He'd always do his vocals sitting at the board. And so you would just hear this, extraordinary screaming and
Okay, those
again,
off,
and again and again and again. And then he'd come out at 5 in the morning, everybody would be sitting on the couch like, what? It's done. You get the Lindrum out, you'd start putting down a pattern, then you take the bass, you start playing bass, then you put a guitar on it, and then you take the keyboards out, you start putting keyboard lines on it. And the next thing you know, there was the pad out and he was writing lyrics, and then he'd go and carry everybody out for a minute. And it would happen that. What I saw mostly is that he always had a drum pattern first. Always the drum pattern, and then a bass line, and then guitar, and then he'd layer keyboards and whatever else, and then all the vocals.
Strategy wanted her career, but why couldn't she have it all?
It was remote hit. Oh, here you go. This one, this one.
This is not a small movie. This is a big movie. And it was one of the first things I said when, I told the story to Prince and he said, we're doing it. But I kept saying to everybody, I said, regardless of what the budget could be 5 cents or 500, it didn't matter. Whatever the budget is, it's a big movie within that. And I just said, every moment, every scene, every visual, every choice we make has to be on the side of how big can we make it, and what is the spectacle. And so that's how I just approached everything.
I'm competitive. Prince is a super competitive individual, so we were always cool until, we started touring.
There was a competitiveness that existed from when they were young kids.
Once he realized that he created this Frankenstein monster, and, that's when the tension came in.
But I also really think that Prince empowered Morris's character and really helped open him up, and finding that Sagittarian ego.
As far as the movie and real life really happened on stage. I mean, we weren't that competitive off stage, but as far as performing was, we were. So I think that the movie hits on that a little bit.
Morris is a real sweetheart, but he has a capacity to be a big personality when he's funny, and when he really is just himself, he's funny.
Bobby, the first cousin is my brother-in-law, Stuart Pastor. He called me on the phone and says, you have an audition with the Time. So I go in the next day to this warehouse on Highway 7, Minneapolis, kind of a very nondescript building. Walk in, go in, and I start playing the songs. I get familiar with the instruments. Jesse was running the show back in those days. Morris was nowhere to be found. Got back home, got a call back. Go back the next day, and Prince is sitting there. I'm like, ooh, what's going on here? Prince came up to me, and he did the whole wreck-a-stove thing. He wrote down the words wreck-a-stove, right? And then he said, read. I'm like, I don't know, wreck-a-stove.
Come on. Read it again.
I don't know. Say it again. Wreck-a-stove.
If you wanted to buy a single cook habit, okay, what'd you do?
Wreck-a-stove. He laughed and I laughed. That was his icebreaker with me. It was really cool. That was his way of welcoming me into the band. My relationship was with Morris then. There really was none, unfortunately. Simply because he was, his best friends were just fired. He's pissed off.
He didn't want to deal with these people who were taking the place of his brothers.
The new guys.
Some of them, never mind.
So he really wasn't around. He wasn't present. Jesse ran the show.
Jesse helped recruit Mark Arnes, and I still say to this day, he never should have been in the time. He never should have been. I quit, and then, like I said, I had my first child, so I came back. We got Paul Peterson, and Paul was 18 years old. So, he was wet behind the ears. I'm sure he would tell you this. He was wet behind the ears and everything, and Jesse rode him like a horse and stuff, but he was a great kid. I mean, he's 18 years old, multi-talented.
Okay, I don't know what's going on.
Jesse I think he took a page out of the book of Prince. He was super demanding.
We recruited Paul Peterson, Mark Arnes. We went back in the heavy rehearsal mode because you had to rehearse that version of the band, to get ready for parade and stuff. So we was into those 8-10 hour rehearsal days every day. And we got it going, we got it back, where so at least when we did the movie stuff, we were prepared.
We're just doing business as usual, recording songs and doing shows. Prince comes up and he's like, "We're gonna do a movie." Okay. I never done a movie before, so.
And he used to tell us that he had dreams about the movie. That was the first tour, the Controversy in 1999 tour. That's his whole thing. He was obsessed, like, we're gonna do a movie about this. He could see this. He could see all this stuff, And I wasn't sure. I was just like, I'm just happy to be in this. We're big all around the country. Everybody adores it. But as far as the movie, that was a whole totally different thing. Just being on the big screen and being a snotty-nosed kid from the north side, oh, I'm going to be on the big screen? Oh, no, that's not going to happen.
A cast that was virtually unknown, had never been in front of a motion picture camera before. And 3 producers who never produced a motion picture before. They were Prince's managers. This is my first directorial assignment, my first assignment as a writer, and my second assignment as an editor.
We had an acting coach who had been hired from California to come in and work individually with the people who had the most speaking roles. We had a dance class downtown that was just basic dance and just as much a workout as anything else.
Next thing you know, he's got us going to doing stupid. Like going to dance classes and going to acting lessons and all of this stuff, and it still didn't seem like it was going to be a reality necessarily because we were just doing all this stuff. But
we started doing casting calls.
No, I understand. I went to the meeting with Bob Cavallo because I liked him immediately and talked to him on the phone only 1 or 2 times. But I liked him immediately. I felt there was a kindred spirit. But when I sat down with him and had breakfast, he said, how could I improve this? What I believe you need to do is to get a writer-director sent into Minneapolis to sit with everyone who wants to talk to him. Then build the storyline that way. Now, even though I had already told the story, there was enough room where I can now put into that story the authenticity of each and every one of those kids.
Then it started to come together. Then all of a sudden a director comes to town and the script shows up and it's starting to look like, we're really going to do this. And so to me, people ask me that I know, I'm like, that was one of the most honest or innocent efforts because we didn't, in my opinion, we didn't know what we were doing.
When I got here and just started talking, I spent my day this way. My day was spent interviewing.
The director showed us the script. He sat me and Jerome down, and line for line, we went through the script, and he said, "Okay, this is what the script says." So we basically rewrote all of our parts.
Not the story so much as the dialogue and stuff like that.
My night was spent writing. So from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. I write. At 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm taking a shower, eating breakfast, and I'm going out again to interview for the next 8 hours. I did that for 3 or 4 solid weeks. And what emerged from it was essentially
Purple Rain. Purple Rain.
Purple Rain was being shot. That following summer was Purple Rain rehearsals. The band, everybody was in the film.